fellow parasitic organisms. This is Comics with Friends, the bi-weekly podcast where two best buds get together, read a comic, talk about what they love about the comic, what they didn't like about the comic, and maybe we'll be a little bit funny this episode. Who knows? I am your host, Ethan, joined by my best bud and co-host, Mason. And today, we are covering Venom by Donny Cates, our good boy Donny Cates, and drawn by Ryan Stegman. What's up?
I'm excited to get into this. You're the one that recommended this story for this episode.
Big surprise.
Big surprise.
I am not a Venom fan.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the character.
And especially considering I'm like the Spider-Man fan here, like the hardcore one. You would think I'd recommend one of his villains, but...
No. I recommended this because this is like the run that I think everybody loves for Venom. I love it.
Yeah.
Or at least I think everybody should read this run.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
A lot more than I initially thought. I guess this is a bit spoiler territory, but this does introduce Null.
Yeah.
And I remember when he, obviously not an avid comic reader, but within the sphere of nerdom, you know, I kind of circulate between multiple different spheres. And I remember when Null kind of got introduced, a lot of people weren't necessarily happy about it.
Yeah, it was very mixed reception. Because you have a lot of like older readers who really just like the concept of Venom is just a suit.
Yeah.
Who came from the stars. We don't know where he's from, what he does.
He's just kind of a mystery.
He's just kind of a mystery. And then you had a lot of newer people who really liked the evolution of the character and how, you know, it evolved into kind of a mythology in a sense.
Yeah, and also reading this, I realized how much inspiration this gave the Insomniac Spider-Man 2 game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played it at all.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
But yeah, there was actually heavy influences from this in that game after reading this.
I would say, before I get into like history stuff for Venom, if there is a piece of media that has Venom in it, whether that be TV show, movie, you know, video game, there is no way that they are not going to use Donny Cates' run on the character as inspiration, because it is I would say it is probably in recent years the most popular run of Venom ever. Even more so than Agent Venom.
So, speaking of different versions of Venom, we were talking before we started recording that I've been rereading Ultimate Spider-Man. My favorite, not necessarily because of the story behind it, but my favorite design of Venom is from the Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I really like his look in that, from it just being like he's kind of a bit gargantuan.
I was gonna say he's more like monstrous.
Yeah, he's more monstrous, and I really like the purple more than the black, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think they need to bring that back. But also, I'm a bit biased because purple's like my favorite color.
Same. Yeah.
So, I'm a bit biased on that. But yeah, no, I like Venom a lot. Yeah. I think it's an interesting enough character, and I have always liked that he's kind of like not the other side of Spider-Man's coin, because Venom doesn't have necessarily morality per se. I'd say more like usually like, because it's Eddie usually.
Yeah. Eddie
is more of the other side of Peter than anything, but Venom's not the other side of Spider-Man. But I don't know. I've always thought he's looked cool, and just, you know, he's just interesting to me. So I was excited to read this.
Yeah, he's definitely a character where, like, at least in the beginning, you can tell that the design came first before anything else.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just might as well get into the history of Venom. It's quick, yet there's a lot of legal complication in it. So Venom was actually created by a comic book fan.
Oh, wow.
Not an actual writer. Venom, the idea of the black suit was created by a man in Illinois named Randy Schweller, who, because Marvel used to have like in the back of their books these letter pages, which was essentially fans could send in their thoughts on the previous month's issues or whatever,
Right.
and Stan Lee or some writer or whoever would respond to it.
Yeah.
And that was Marvel's way of communicating with fans, because obviously back in the 80s, the internet
Wasn't a thing.
it wasn't really a thing. And at the time, Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief at Marvel during that time, liked the idea of the black suit so much that he reached out to Schweller and was like, hey, we really like this idea. We'd like to buy it off of you. And they paid Schweller $220
Damn.
for the rights to that idea. Yeah.
He should have made sure he got like, what is it? Fucking royalties.
Yeah, royalties, 100%. So obviously Shooter is the one who came up with the idea of swapping, Peter into that new outfit. And then later on it became a living organism. Obviously Roger Stern had a big impact on the abilities of Venom as a suit, with the healing factor and all that kind of stuff, the enhanced strength. And then by the time David Michelinie took over the Amazing Spider-Man title, Todd McFarlane had come around.
Yeah.
And that is where we get the true, first incarnation of Venom.
Yeah.
But that's essentially it for the character's origin, in a sense. It's very quick and easy. There's a lot of legal stuff that goes into that, because obviously I believe there's been legal battles over it and all kinds of stuff, but that's comics. Venom obviously has had a very tumultuous history as a character. There isn't one definitive character that is Venom.
Yeah.
Now, Eddie Brock is the character you think of.
The original host. See, because I always view Venom more as the symbiote more than the person it is attached to.
That's how I view it. Venom is a person, not a suit.
Well, especially now in more recent versions of Venom, the suit is a lot more sentient and a separate kind of mind to the host. Because, most people have seen Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
So they do. Well, it's not it's not the best version of Venom.
No.
For a layman, you could see that and understand that the suit kind of has originally enhanced the negative kind of emotions and aspects of a person.
It's almost like the Phoenix Force from X-Men.
Yeah.
Where it feeds off of that, the emotions.
And so it went from more, it's just enhancing the bad aspects of a person to it being just its own sentient being.
Yeah.
I haven't read enough of say Agent Venom or other things like that to know if that was by design throughout the years of his comics, where it's gotten to be where it's come more individualistic as the comics have gone, or if it was just an abrupt change of okay, this is what we're doing now. Because I'd say the Venom movies with Tom Hardy was I think, at least mainstream wise, the first time we really saw Venom as it's two minds in the same person.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just because all other interpretations mainstream wise that we've seen have been Venom the monster.
Yeah.
Not Venom the character.
Venom the alien.
Yeah.
Because that's more in line, I guess, because like I've said, like with the Ultimate Spider-Man, when he comes, it's literally just like there's no real personality or even mind. It's all running off instinct,
Right.
and so it's definitely much more creature than anything else. So I don't know. That's interesting. You know, like a way choice, I guess, of like going for the character, but eventually you have to do something like that to keep the character interesting, and to keep it ongoing,
Right?
Because you can only do so much with Venom just being kind of like a mindless monster, basically.
Yeah, a one-track character.
So it's kind of like, okay, yeah, like at some point they were gonna have to go the route of like giving it a personality, making it an individual.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised by it. It's just my favorite. My favorite version of Venom is kind of that more monster-esque. I remember the old Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah.
Seeing that Venom, that was my first exposure to Venom.
Yeah.
And I think ever since I had seen that, I was like, I like this character a lot. It looks cool. And he's all black. I dress in all black. Let's fucking go.
Yeah. So I guess that's basically it.
Yeah,
for history.
Yeah.
So I guess we can just get right into it.
Yep.
So, of course, we are covering the first arc of Donny Cates' run of Venom, which is Rex. This is the first 6 issues of his run. You can go out and you can pick that up, just so that way we can get that out of the way. You can definitely pick this up. Recommend you pick it up, local comic book store, anything like that. You can pick up the omnibus for this as well, which contains all of the arcs from Donny Cates' run, all the way from Venom Rex to Absolute Carnage, King in Black, all of them. So we open up this story with a flashback. Spoilers. It's technically a dream, but it is also a flashback.
Yeah.
Where it is a bunch of Norwegian knight or Vikings, I guess, or knights. They look like knights.
They're Norwegian or Scandinavian warriors.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily Vikings, but they mention
They're Celtic.
Yeah, they mention in this, I believe, Grendel.
They do.
Which, if anyone knows the story of like Beowulf and things,
which is
that
very
awful, weird CGI movie from back in the day.
Yeah.
That's what I always think of whenever I hear Beowulf. But yeah, it's like that time period.
Yeah. So these knights are basically at this massive gate holding back this creature. I don't believe they named the creature just yet, but it is obviously supposed to be Grendel because one of the knights is basically trying to figure out where Beowulf is. And as, you know, the creature breaks through, we see this big crack of lightning and these men are being consumed by the creature. And Eddie opens his eyes and wakes up.
Yeah.
And he is in a rough spot, let me tell you.
You know, so like when I saw Eddie's character design in this, my mind immediately went to the fucking Halloween done by Rob Zombie.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. Probably because the young boy has like long hair.
Yeah, the young Michael.
Yeah, the young Michael Myers. My brain just made that connection for some reason. So I was like, no, it's adult Michael Myers. Okay. But he does kind of look like a serial killer.
Oh, 100%.
Let's be honest.
Eddie, Ryan Stegman absolutely knocks it out of the ballpark with the art in this. Let me just get that out of the way.
Extremely good.
It is very well done. I'm not sure if he's the artist throughout the entire run, but he does do a lot of it. I'll say that. And it looks great. I think everyone's design in this looks awesome. So Eddie wakes up and he is like, he's essentially saying like, I've never fucking spoke Norwegian in my entire life. How the fuck did I understand what they were saying?
Yeah.
That kind of deal. And he notices that Venom, the symbiote, is kind of like
freaking out.
Yeah, freaking out and kind of trickling off of him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Eddie's trying to comfort the symbiote and says like, oh, hey, it's just a thunderstorm. You know, there's nothing to be afraid of. And Venom is essentially like, I'm not afraid of the storm. I'm afraid of what we saw in my dream. And that's when you find out that like it is Venom's nightmare that we were seeing, not Eddie's. Yeah. And, you know, Eddie's like, I didn't even know you could have nightmares. And Venom's like, I didn't either.
Yeah, this is new to me too.
So Eddie gets up and he starts walking to the bathroom. And that's where you find out that Venom has been kind of freaking out over the past however long they've been reunited. This does take place a little bit after the Agent Venom and Lee Price runs on the character. Lee Price was the last person to get the suit. I believe Lee Price was at one point Scorpion. He was a Scorpion. And obviously some shit happened. Eddie got the fucking suit back. That's all that you really need to know.
Yeah, but Venom's, he's slipping.
Yeah, he's going a little bit wacko. And fucking Brock has been taking these like antipsychotic pills to essentially make Venom docile. Yeah,
and also like kind of push Venom's not able to communicate with him. It's like getting him out of his mind, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Hitting the mute button, basically.
Yeah. And it is cool. I really like the visual that they do where when he takes the pills, because Venom's boxes are always notated by black squares, while Eddie's is the normal circle speech bubble. And as he takes the pills, you can see Venom's bubble turn gray and it starts to fade and get like kind of wobbly. And then it's just gone. And, you know, the entire time Eddie is apologizing to Venom and, you know, all that. And it's really cool. I do think this series does a really good job at highlighting the relationship between Eddie and the symbiote. It's pretty cool. Of course, Eddie is like, there is something wrong. I have to figure this out quick or I might be fucked.
Yeah. He basically says, like, I gotta figure out how to fix... Because he constantly refers to Venom as my other.
Yeah.
And he's like, I gotta figure out how to fix my other. And if I can't, I'm essentially gonna have to take myself out.
Yeah. He's afraid that he's gonna hurt somebody.
Yeah. And so he basically is like, I'm like giving myself a time frame, and if I don't fix it within this time frame, like I'm just gonna.
Yeah. So he's looking at himself in the mirror, and that's when on this police radio, he hears kind of a dispatch call, and he hops out, and we kind of get this nice little, you know, monologue from him saying that like, you know, the pills let him control the suit just enough to get around. He did lose, or he talked about how he just lost his job because he couldn't turn in his assignments on time, his work. And we get this really like just beautiful artwork of Venom in the rain swinging, like just
lightning behind.
Yeah, him. Ryan Stegman just absolutely knocks it out of the park.
I do like his design in this a lot.
Yeah, really, really good.
Ultimate Spider-Man is still my favorite, but this is definitely up there.
So essentially what this dispatch was that Eddie is going to is there's a new jack-o'-lantern that is on the scene. Now, we don't know the history of jack-o'-lantern here at Comics with Friends, but the last time we saw jack-o'-lantern, he got his fucking head exploded by Punisher. Yeah. And that was in Civil War.
Yeah.
So I don't know how...
That's the only history I need to know, because the fact that he got so, like, just... written off in that story, just
it's almost believable that this is the next jack-o'-lantern.
That, and just like how, like, okay, like that's, I don't need history of jack-o'-lantern.
The last time I saw him, he fucking died.
Yeah, like to be honest.
I did. When I was reading that, I got a good chuckle because the last thing we read with Jack-o'-lantern in it was Civil War. So I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, essentially, this new Jack-o'-lantern is smuggling weapons. Now I think he's trying to pass it off as like Osborn tech.
Yeah.
And the other fucking weirdo looking characters that he's trying to give these to.
Yeah, like one's wearing like a fucking like
bear. Like,
is it a bear?
It's like a bear
onesie. It looked like a fucking pit bull. Like,
oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
Not Mr. Worldwide pit bull, but like like the dog, you know, like a pit bull, fucking like something you'd see from Skyrim.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's goofy looking, but he's trying to, you know, sell off these weapons to these Z-list villains. And at the same time, Eddie has arrived on scene, and he's essentially like, I'm retired. I don't do the like lethal protecting anymore. Yeah. And he's like, I'm just here to take pictures.
Yeah, he's like, I'm an observer now.
Yeah.
Is kind of his big things, because when he's there, when the panels are showing Jack-o'-lantern kind of like doing this deal and everything, you think, oh, like, okay, like even though Venom's not in top form, he's gonna come in and bust it up.
Well, yeah, these are some shitty little villains. Yeah. He could probably beat them.
But they kind of, you know, flip that on its head, and the cops show up, and like it goes off without a hitch. Goes off without a hitch, yeah. Quote unquote. They arrest pretty much everyone, but as Eddie's like, you know, being like, I'm an observer, I don't do this anymore. He's taking pictures, and he sees Jack-o'-lantern like slip his cuffs.
Yeah, and
like, just
he steals a gun,
yeah.
Shoots a cop, and like, yeah, he, like you say, he just gets the fuck out of there. And Eddie's like, he suits up, like he's ready to go. He punches this new Jack-o'-lantern in the spine, and I got a huge chuckle out of this as well, because he punches him straight in the spine, and you hear crack, and I'm just thinking, damn, Eddie just fucking paralyzed this guy.
And busts the Jack-o'-lantern fucking helmet wide open when he hits the ground.
Yeah,
dude.
He is a monster, quite literally. So this new Jack-o'-lantern is like, I'm not even real. I found this. Like, he's like, I found it at, you know, a random place. Please don't hurt me. You know, great atmospheric artwork as well, because Venom is mostly shadowed and off panel in this scene.
That's what I was going to bring up. I was like, this entire interaction, you don't really see Venom.
No, you see up close POV shots of him, or, you know, like I said, shadowed renditions of him, so you don't fully see his face. And this new Jack-o'-lantern is absolutely terrified, and he starts gouging this guy's eyes out. And when the cops show up, they point their lights, and they're like, oh my God, is that fucking Venom?
Yeah, because I'd shit myself if I saw that. Because Venom, he no longer looks like Venom.
No, his spider is now red with these weird, like almost veins all around his body. And he no longer has eyes. He has a red spiral on his face. And that red spiral is a running theme throughout all of Donny Cates' run. And there is a reason behind all of that. Of course, it does have to do with Null, the character that Mason was talking about at the beginning of this.
Yes. This was when I saw this suit, I was like, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, Insomniac. Because the fucking symbiote.
The stone, the little...
Well, I don't know what you call them. The fucking... The why am I blanking on... Like the mobs. The fucking...
Oh, yeah.
Just the enemies you fight in gameplay.
Yeah, the fodder. Yeah.
They all have that spiral on their fucking gun. Why was I was struggling. I was struggling there for a second.
But yeah, Venom turns, and these cops are... like you said, I would shit myself. If I saw normal Venom, I think I'd probably shit myself too.
Yeah, but then at least then you have like a little bit of expectation.
That's
because
true.
it's like I know that's Venom. I know what he does and what he's capable of.
Maybe he won't hurt me.
Yeah, maybe I'll come out of this paralyzed, but I'll still be alive and be able to go to my family. You know.
But he turns and he starts talking to these cops in like gobbledygook language.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't
Alien.
Yeah, it's alien. And we get this really cool narration from Eddie, who is in the suit, saying like, I feel like I'm drowning. Like I'm falling deeper and deeper into this like abyss.
Yeah.
And he can't get out. And he's talking about the language that he's speaking, because obviously he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
But he gets like feelings of the language. And all while he's doing this narration, we're getting this this visual of like a scope.
Yeah.
Like a sniper
scope.
And he gets domed right in the head.
I don't think that's a bullet.
It's not.
I think it's something else.
No, it's not. It's almost like a, to me, it looks like a, what it would be like a sonic frequency type weapon.
Yeah.
Because
something like that.
when it hits, it leaves this thing lodged in his head and it beeps and then it explodes.
No, it's just a bomb.
Is it just a bomb?
It's just a bomb.
I'm surprised Eddie's alive.
Yeah. Well.
So, but essentially, Eddie is like, he's essentially saying like, I can't control myself anymore. I'm going to kill these innocent police officers. Can someone please help me and kill us? And that's when the thing in his head goes off, blows up, and Eddie, somehow still alive, is like, holy shit, are those officers okay? And this, individual who shot him is like, oh, you're fine, Thompson, get up. Like, we got to get out of here before more police show up. And Eddie's like, who the fuck are you talking to? I'm not Flash Thompson. And that is when we get introduced to
Strickland,
Rex Strickland.
Hence the
title Venom
of this
Rex.
arc,
Yeah. He basically sedates Eddie and brings them to his hideout, which is essentially just like a metal fabrication plant.
It's just an abandoned warehouse or factory.
Yeah. And really cool setup because he's surrounded like on all sides by these massive speaker amp type things. And it's like putting out a frequency low enough to not kill the symbiote, but to like incapacitate him essentially.
Yeah, and there's also like a massive like furnace behind Eddie for like if he
can just get kicked right into it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty cool.
Which goes to show that this Strickland character obviously understands the symbiote and its fucking weaknesses.
Yeah. And we very quickly find out who he is. Obviously, he is a very, how do I put this? Crass character. That's the best way I can put it, is like he doesn't have any form of like,
he's gruff.
Yeah.
He's blunt. He is no nonsense.
He cusses a lot, which let me just say, this is a little side note. I am tired of comics. Whenever somebody cusses, it's like the jumbled up
just
nonsense. Just write it.
Just write it.
Most of your readers are adults anyways.
Well, and it's also like, especially for like Venom or like Deadpool or even
adult oriented characters.
It's like just on the front, just have 18 plus on the front of the issue.
Which is funny because whenever they do like a mature audience comic, they put out like a red band version of it, and that's the uncensored version. Like Wolverine gets those.
Yeah, that's why. Well,
I know why Wolverine gets them.
I'm saying I know why they do two versions, because more money.
Yeah, more money.
More money.
This shit's gonna sell, and the secondary market's insane for it. So, but that's beside the point. That's just Ethan's little nitpick on comics. Not necessarily has anything to do with this comic. That's just my viewpoint on comics in general.
I know we're like 15 episodes in, but I don't think we've ever stated that our podcast is not for children either.
I don't think we need to say that.
No, but like I'm sitting here as we're talking about this, like maybe we should at least say it once of like, this is we are not for children. You know what I mean? Like we cuss a lot and everything. So
Yeah.
we talk about shit, especially with some of these stories, you know, talking about like very heavy topics. Like we are not, I don't know. I just feel like that should be stated for the record. So when, you know, a couple years in the future, we get sued or something because
we get canceled
because a Karen let her fucking 5-year-old listen to our podcast.
Well, maybe that Karen should be a better parent.
I didn't say it. You said it.
Oh, 100%. I stand on business.
But anyway, yes, this Strickland character is very gruff.
Yeah.
Very, very, he gives off soldier.
Right.
100%.
And we quickly find out that he is a veteran. Now, I don't think they straight up say what war he was in, but to me it looks like Vietnam, maybe.
I'm pretty sure he does say Vietnam.
Does he say Vietnam?
Yes.
The reason why because I didn't notice that, but the reason why I say that is because there's a napalm scene in the future.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can't find it.
But essentially, Rex gives this lowdown to Eddie, basically saying like, "Oh, Project Rebirth, you know, that was the project that came about to recreate Captain America, and it just created a bunch of failures, all that kind of stuff." And Eddie's like, "Oh yeah, they tried to use Flash Thompson to create a new kind of super soldier using the symbiote," and Rex kind of cuts him off and says, "No, that's not correct. It's not new. It's the latest attempt."
Yeah.
And that's when Rex shows him this old picture of him when he was younger and his company or his platoon. They all have symbiotes on them.
Yeah, he was like part of like a special forces program.
Spec Ops.
That tried to adopt symbiotes to essentially make super soldiers.
Right. And they were basically sent in to do the dirty work.
Essentially, I mean, like
they were assassins.
They were assassins, and also stuff that it was also like if we sent anybody else, they'd die.
Yeah.
They were suicide missions too. Like, I guess Suicide Squad. This was a suicide.
What are we? Some kind of Suicide Squad? God, that movie sucks. So
which one is that?
That was the first one. That was the first because it's Will Smith that says it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he tells Eddie like, "You're not special. You're not you're not even the second host of the symbiote. Like, maybe that symbiote, yes, you are, but like
not
being
as a whole.
Yeah, being a host isn't special. Anyone can be a host, and there's already been multiple hosts." And he's also, saying like, "And you can't trick me," because at that time Eddie is also trying to basically have the symbiote like attack.
Yeah, like sneak up on him.
Yeah, and Rex is like, "And I know all your tricks. Like, you can't."
Yeah.
Boom. And he basically tells Venom like, "You're gonna help me because the longer we stayed as those bonded hosts with our symbiotes, the more we lost ourselves."
Yeah. Basically, go crazy.
Yeah, they went insane. And with the collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D., now I don't know what storyline takes place right before this for S.H.I.E.L.D. to collapse, but it's collapsing on a weekly basis at this point. That's the best way
I was going to say that because I've been diving. I mean, we've talked about this, obviously. I've been diving more into reading comics on my own lately without your recommendation. So I've seen some hits and I've seen some misses, but it's like 90% of the time, like S.H.I.E.L.D. just doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's been disbanded.
It's been disbanded or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude.
Yeah. So pick any number of
comic
arcs where S.H.I.E.L.D. is disbanded. But with S.H.I.E.L.D. disbanded, the other members of Rex's company are being transported because they didn't kill them. They didn't die.
They put them in like
cryostasis.
Back to tanks from Star Wars.
Yeah, essentially. And with the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D., they are going to be disposed of, essentially. And Rex wants Eddie and the symbiote to
save them.
Yeah. And Eddie's like, well, I don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in a rock and a hard place. So yeah, sure, I'll help you. And Rex is also offering to fix the nightmares that Eddie has been having.
I don't like, other than like maybe, I guess, what, therapy sessions? Like, how do you fix that?
Well, it's obvious that like the Rex knows more than what he's leading on.
Yeah.
So, and it does get revealed what all these nightmares are and everything like that. And Eddie is essentially, he's sitting there contemplating to himself, and he's like, where did the symbiotes come from? Like, do you know? Because you've been bonded with them for so long. And Rex is like, I don't know. That's a great question. And he's like, do you want to help me find that answer?
Yeah.
And Eddie's like, hell yeah, I'm down. I will do this. So we cut to a little bit into the future, and Eddie is in this underground facility. It looks like a tunnel.
Yeah. So when
like a city tunnel.
When Strickland is talking to him about, like, you know, rescuing his friends, he says they're transporting his friends via these old secret like shield tunnels that run underneath the city.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. Primarily, Eddie is going to intercept them.
Yeah.
Because Strickland is nowhere around.
No, he
when
is.
Shit pops up.
No, he is not. He is not putting himself in the line of danger.
Nope.
So we get this really funny scene, or I guess kind of funny scene, where Eddie's like, all right, I don't want to hurt anyone. These are just normal guys just doing their job. I'm just going to incapacitate them and get out of there. And we also see the same people Eddie is talking about saying like, oh, I think another homeless person found his way down here. And they're like, don't waste the ammo. Just run him over.
Yeah, do the world a favor.
Yeah, and I'm
it's
like, oh my God.
These aren't good. Relatively compared to a world, I guess, of like evil, like world-ending people.
Yeah.
Sure. They're not that bad.
Yeah, I guess.
But like that's still fucked up.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's funny because, you know, they say that on like the intercoms and shit. And Eddie's like, oh, did you hear that? And Venom's like, yeah, bad men. And so they suit up.
Yeah.
And they just start whipping fucking ass.
I love the panel of the truck hitting Venom.
Yeah, where he's just like a solid object.
Yeah, that thing just crumples like a fucking accordion, and the two of the drivers fucking fly out the fucking windshield.
Yeah.
Like it's dope.
Yeah, and Eddie does make a remark saying like, oh, like it feels like we're normal again.
Yeah,
like him and the symbiote are working together again, and he's like, I feel stronger. We feel stronger, and that's when, you know, he blows the semi up, and he's essentially like whooping ass.
Yeah. And
he's like, okay, well, the fire is spreading. Get out of here before it starts to affect us, that kind of deal. And it is funny because one of the soldiers get out of his like Humvee and is like, holy shit, is that Venom?
Yeah.
And Venom grabs him and fucking throws him away. They smash cars into everything, and they finally get to the transport. He opens it up, and
it busts into flames.
Bursts into flames, and when he looks up, there are four kind of the same design. I don't know what we should call that design, but the
spiral
design. Yeah, we'll call it that. The spiral design. It's four symbiotes that have the spiral design on them, and they're just towering over Venom.
Yeah.
Speaking that same language. And the symbiote, like Brock's symbiote, is like, fuck this.
Yeah, he like starts to come off of Eddie.
Yeah.
And in that moment of those other symbiotes showing up, Eddie does say that he can feel the same darkness radiating off them as they did with his nightmare that he had just have about like the monster and Beowulf and all that.
Yeah.
But so you know it's connected.
But yeah, Venom, he gets right off of Eddie and is like, I'm not doing this. And he starts talking in the same language.
Yeah.
And it is cool because like throughout this arc, Eddie does talk about the symbiotes almost like they are a pack of animals. And he equates Venom's like reluctance to basically fight as like a member of a pack showing its belly to the alpha kind of sense.
Like the instinct of
fear. And there's a hierarchy to their power.
Yeah.
And Venom is like, I'm not doing this. And Eddie's like, I feel vulnerable and like I don't know how to fight without the suit, but I'm hoping that if I just charge in there,
Venom will save
me.
This part kind of made me laugh.
Yeah.
A little bit because he was putting his money on black.
Oh yeah. Yes, he was. So he starts charging in there and he's essentially like, yeah, well, I'm a fucking idiot for thinking that, because he immediately gets stabbed right in the fucking chest by one of these spiral symbiotes. And he drops to the ground. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm dead. Shit.
Yeah. But Venom begins to try to heal Eddie. And it is really nice. You get these really cool like panels and thought, blocks of the symbiote basically being like, please don't die. Please, I'll fix you. Be awake. Don't fall asleep. That kind of deal.
Yeah.
And Venom actually says like, I don't know why we left. Like why we left you. And it's almost like it forced us to get off of you.
Yeah. And then at the same time when Venom's trying to heal Eddie, the 4 symbiotes like go back into the truck that they came out of, and you just see this bright like flash of light, and then these like dehydrated corpses come flying out of the back of the truck.
Yeah.
And Eddie's like, just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. He says that the soldiers walk back into the truck and something rips the symbiotes off of them. And you basically find out that like they've been dead this whole time. Eddie's sitting here looking at these dead bodies, basically barely holding on for dear fucking life as this rumbling starts to happen. And on the street, like the streets of New York, you see this massive crack start to form in the road, and just this massive fucking dragon comes careening out from under the ground. And it's cool because Eddie asked the symbiote, like, what were they saying? And Venom says, like, it's a dead language not spoken by my kind in like a million years.
It's like an old dialect.
Yeah. And he says that it essentially translates to God is coming.
Yeah.
And
it says God is coming on that full panel.
The full panel with the dragon. It's raining and there's thunder and lightning everywhere.
Metal as fuck.
It is badass.
Yeah. This whole, I would say these 6 issues are metal as fuck. Yeah. They're honestly really fucking cool.
It's certified metal.
If there is say an adaptation of this, like a genuine, like almost 1-to-1 adaptation, movie, animated, whatever, if it does not have a metal soundtrack, it is immediately a 0 out of 10.
Now, I will say the most recent Venom movie, which is why we're covering this story, because we're late to the party, of course.
I have not seen the last 2. So
I saw the first one and I've seen the second one. I haven't seen the new one. The new one takes aspects of this arc and puts it into the movie.
Yeah.
Do you know about the after credit scene?
Well, doesn't Null appear?
Yeah, he appears in the after credit scene.
Yeah. No, I've heard less than glowing reviews.
Yeah.
To be fair, every single one of those movies have had less than glowing reviews.
I thought the first one was pretty good. The second one, not great.
And
so, but that's just...
I have to be honest, Sony's track record with these superhero IPs...
You mean you're not excited for the Kraven the Hunter movie?
Oh, dude, I'm... all 2 inches of me are erect.
With Rhino, that is just a guy that turns into a rhino mutant?
Yeah. Or it's Morbin time.
Yeah.
It's with fucking Jared Leto. 30 Seconds to Mars, Jesus Christ himself.
What about the Madam Web movie? Didn't you enjoy that? You haven't seen it, have you?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry. What movie are you talking about? I'm pretty sure that movie doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Sony, you might as well sell those rights back to Marvel at this point. Because granted, Marvel's track record of late has not been the best. Or I should say Disney.
Yeah.
With their shows and movies. But at least
it's making money.
It's making money, but also at least like there's a semblance of a decent story there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, come on.
So, we get to issue 2 because that first issue ends with this massive dragon coming out from beneath New York City. Mm-hmm. We start issue 2 with a narration by Rex. Rex's narration is punctuated by the same style black text boxes as Venom, the symbiote, but instead of it having a white border, it has a green border. Mm-hmm. He is talking about the mission, how he sent Brock on this mission 18 hours ago and hasn't made contact with him for at least the last 10 hours. Yeah. And he's like, the mission's lost, and so are my friends. And he's like, I shouldn't have trusted somebody else to get this done for me. I should have done it. And
all the while, you just see Venom doing his damnedest
to keep Eddie alive. Like
he's got a fucking hole.
Yeah.
Like that hole in his chest is like 90% of his fucking chest.
Yeah, and it's cool. I'm going to assume this comes back later. You see Venom go into the hole and begin to like replace the broken pieces with like himself. I'm going to assume this comes back later.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if it does. Are you talking like later after the 6 issues?
Yeah, like later in this run, if that's going to come into play.
Confession, I read to issue 8.
That's fine.
Because I couldn't remember how many issues we were going to do. And also because I wanted to keep reading.
Yeah, you can read ahead. I don't care.
To be 100% honest with you, I wanted to keep reading. I have not seen it come back into play yet.
Okay.
So I think what it is that he's like using himself to put Eddie back together to then like keep him alive and then start the like healing process.
Okay.
So I think it's more like an emergency first aid thing of him like literally using himself to replace the pieces that because literally like his ribs are like fucking cracked open and like, he's fucked right now.
Yeah, he's probably missing his spine.
His spine, his heart, 90% of his fucking lungs, like.
But yeah, so we get this narration from Rex essentially saying like, who is Eddie Brock beneath the black? You know, and we get this really cool kind of flashback / montage of Eddie where he talks about how like, oh, his mother died in childbirth. Mm-hmm. He was Catholic, only child. His father used to be rich, but lost all his money after an accident that Eddie was involved in. He used to be a famous reporter, or I guess photographer for the Daily Globe, which I believe is a competitor to the Daily Planet.
Are you sure about that?
And he had everything that he could have wanted. He was a star writer where he talked about like unsolved mysteries, serial killers, all kinds of stuff. And then he lost it all, obviously, because of Spider-Man.
But also Rex says like, and then he just shows up back in New York as a supervillain for Spider-Man, and he's literally like, what did Spider-Man do to you? And it's like, you obviously don't know the full story.
Yeah, obviously you did not read those.
He threw some dirt in his eye, is what he did.
I'm going to throw some dirt in your eye. Yeah.
He threw a lot.
Bully McGuire, I'll tell you. So yeah, he shows back up in a slick new suit, calling him Venom. And, like you just said, tries to kill, Spider-Man. And then in the blink of an eye, he becomes a good guy in California. He becomes the Lethal Protector. And there's so much more in between and after all of that. He names, Carnage, Cancer, because, obviously Eddie is a cancer survivor. Toxin, Anti-Venom, all these different little things that have happened in Eddie's life. And he was like, he's been born, unborn, reborn over and over and over again. He gets so many second chances to the point where he's the man of 1,000 second chances, the comeback king.
Yeah.
I will say that will come back later at the end of this entire run, because I have somewhat read The King in Black.
Okay.
I have not read the entirety of the run, but I have read some of it, some of the King in Black stuff.
Yeah.
And I have even seen like panels online of it.
Oh, okay.
But that man of 1,000 second chances, the comeback king, that will come back.
Come in and play.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Eddie wakes up. He's alive. Barely.
Barely.
He is fucking holding on with a prayer and some goo. So we cut back to that warehouse that Rex is in, and Eddie shows up, and he's like, I'm fucked. I will say the Rex does also talk about how like the suit, or he's still talking about Eddie, where he says like, Eddie, he's the man of 1,000 chances, but one of these days those chances are going to run dry.
Yeah.
And it could be today, it could be 100 years from now. Either way, all he is just another man wearing his own coffin.
Yeah, another dead man wearing his own coffin.
Yeah. And
I am not. This is a bit of a tangent. I hate when like kind of unlikable and or side characters that don't necessarily mean too much have really good one-liners or like lines. Like it's good that they do, because then it makes them interesting, but it's like, man, like I'm supposed to kind of not like you, but then you say something like that that's like really cool. Yeah. Like, stop, please, I beg you. Anyway, just the thought.
So yeah, Eddie comes back, and he's like, I lived, bitch, and you lied to us.
Yeah.
And Rex is fucking shocked, and he's like, Eddie tells him like, oh, your men are dead. They're gone. And Rex is like pissed. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And, Venom starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, he Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Throws a barrel right into him.
Yeah, he's like, you sent us to fucking die.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about the creature that is inside the fucking, that was in the truck with them. And Eddie's also he's monologuing, saying like, oh, I'm starting to lose control. I can feel it. Basically, the spiral is forming. And he's like, it feels like something evil in me. He starts talking that alien language. He's able to gain control back just enough without hurting Rex. And he opens up the furnace, and, he fucking...
Yeah, he shoves his own face.
Yeah, shoves his head into the furnace, and it allows him to get control back.
Yeah.
For the time being. So they start talking about the fucking dragon. Eddie turns on the TV, and there's just this news reporter just standing out on the side of the road talking about this dragon like it's just another Tuesday, essentially. Which I find to be kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eddie's like, that is what was being transported with your men, and it essentially like took the symbiotes off of them, and they were already dead.
I'm just thinking that in the back of Eddie's mind, he has to know already that he's about to have to fight that.
Yeah.
And he's got to be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do against a goddamn dragon?
Yeah.
Like.
And this is where we kind of get the Rex knows more than what he's leading on, because he's like, I thought that thing was dead.
Yeah.
Like he's like being honest with Eddie. Like, I did not know that thing was still around. I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. had destroyed it. And we get this flashback where he's talking about how him and his men were kind of stuck in like the trenches. They were pinned down by sniper.
Yeah.
And they could not, they couldn't dig the hole fast enough, because every time they would shovel dirt, another one of their men would die.
Yeah. The sniper was picking them off. They essentially they got ambushed.
Yeah.
And they're like in the open, and in an attempt to not get caught in the open by a sniper, they start digging trenches.
Yeah.
And that's got to be terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Like
100%.
honestly, I mean, grand war in general is terrifying, but like to just like not know, like you're not in cover, you're getting shot at by a sniper who's highly accurate. So it's like the entire time you're digging, you just have to be wondering like, okay, am I next?
Right.
Like that's gonna be absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah, I'd be shitting myself. What makes it even more fucked up is he's like, by the time we had discovered that like the trenches we were digging were the last trenches the last soldiers were digging, it was too late, because they dig up and they find the remains of other U.S. soldiers who had the exact same idea as them. Yeah. So this is a trap that has been set multiple times.
And I think he says something like, we were just... yeah, they had died the same way we would while digging our own grave. And I'm like, dude, yeah. Hopefully, I swear to God, there's a draft. I'm done.
Yeah,
it's all over.
I'm done. So while they are, in up Schitt's Creek, for lack of a better term, Rex has this absolutely brilliant idea to buy his men basically more time by charging the sniper. Yeah. Like he had deduced where the sniper was, and so he started charging towards them. And he takes some fucking shots, let me tell you. Yeah. And just as the sniper is about to take him out, the planes come, the air support, and they drop napalm all over the battlefield, fucking engulfing Rex.
Which I hadn't realized that when we first met him until after this moment when we see him again, that he has actual multiple burn scars.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know why I didn't pick that up in the first place, but yeah, he has multiple burn scars all over him.
Yeah. So he ends up waking up, and he's like in this intensive care, like underground infirmary, basically. And we see this shadowed figure with this doctor holding a cancer, and this shadow figure basically saying like, we have an offer for you. We're gonna test this experiment, and it's gonna build you just as good as new and more. Yeah. And we don't see the figure, but it's 100% Nick Fury.
Is it?
To me, this looks like Nick Fury. Like it even looks like an eye patch on him if you zoom into the picture.
Oh
yeah, it's one. I'll try and put a panel up on the video, but it's Nick Fury.
I guess I'm just so used to seeing
No, I'm an idiot. He even says in the speech bubble, "I remember Fury in the shadows."
Yeah. I guess I'm just so used to seeing the Samuel L. Jackson version of Nick Fury that, because I had to read the same bubble as you. It just didn't click that it was actually Fury.
Yeah.
I thought it was like he was talking about Fury, like I guess maybe, and I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'm just so used to seeing that now. Like, I think the last time I saw the original Nick Fury was the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games.
Yeah.
That I think that was the last time I saw that original version of Nick Fury.
Yeah. So they begin to graft the symbiote onto Rex, and Rex has this vision, like he's falling through like a black pool that's just filled with symbiotes. And he talks about how like it's a small sample of the symbiote essentially, but it feels like he can break gods with the power that he's being given. And he says that in that moment, I see everything. I see the universe, the tissue that binds everything, moving tendrils through the void. And he's diving deeper and deeper into this blackness. And he says, I saw glimpses of where the symbiote had been and the horrors that it had unleashed upon countless civilizations. that it had driven insane and then devoured. He says, and just when I thought my mind would collapse from basically the terror of it all, that is when he sees this dragon in space, and he says, I awoke it.
Yeah, and it started to speak, and at first I didn't know what it said, but now I do after hearing it constantly throughout my nightmares. And then it jumps to this massive full-page panel of the dragon in the streets, just like wrecking shit, and it just again says God is coming.
Yeah, I love the build-up of Null. Like, I feel like it's almost how Thanos felt in the MCU
a little bit,
when they were going through the Infinity Saga, where it was like we saw little tidbits and trickles of Thanos and the Infinity Stones and all that kind of stuff, and then by the time Infinity War came, it was like, okay, we've got it.
I like the fact that they keep him abstract until he pretty much reveals himself for the first time, because it's again, I think we talked about it a little bit in like when we did the Immortal Hulk. That idea of the person's imagination can make something 100 times scarier.
Yeah.
So like keeping Null abstract, but like saying God is coming. It's like, well, these symbiotes are fucking freaky as all hell and everything like that. What could be their god, essentially?
Yeah.
Like that has to be even worse than this fucking dragon.
Yeah.
This like. So I like it when stories keep the villain abstract for the most part until like that reveal, and they reveal Null. Like when he shows up, his presence is crazy.
Yeah, he commands the page essentially.
Like he's honestly one of the reasons why I was like I didn't necessarily want to stop, because I wanted to see him again.
Right.
But
so Rex and Eddie are watching this news broadcast, and New York is in dire straits.
Yeah.
And Rex is like, this is too much to handle. We need to get out of here. Like, it's gonna find us. And by the time he looks over, Eddie's already gone, and he's going to go try and save as many people as he can.
Yep.
And he gets there, and we get this really, really awesome fucking panel where Eddie is on the rooftops looking at the cityscape, and it's almost like Godzilla, like the 2014 Godzilla movie. Just the silhouette of this dragon covered in smoke and fire, and there's all these helicopters just like surrounding it. And Eddie is like, I always knew one of these days, like, I was gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah, his line where he's like, well, we ain't waiting around to die. If our day is coming, let it come. And we end that issue with Eddie standing on the rooftop and Miles Morales, Spider-Man, sneaking up to come kick him in the back of the fucking head. Which I actually was pleasantly surprised by his appearance. While I don't think his appearance was 100% necessary, I did, because this was my first time ever seeing Venom and Miles Morales Spider-Man interact with each other. So I was like, ooh, like, I wonder how this interaction is going to go. And it went exactly like I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you that it wasn't necessary, but I do think they incorporated him in.
It was done well.
Yeah, especially later on towards the end of the arc.
Yes. It's not that I thought it was done badly. Like, they shouldn't have put it in there. It's just like, I feel Marvel as of lately has really depended on kind of that, the not cameo, that's not the word I'm looking for, but like the appearance of another character.
That's still a cameo.
Yeah, like that's
if it's a character that appears in a title that is not their own, that is still a cameo. Yeah,
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it always feels like there's at least one issue in an arc
Team ups.
where they team up with someone, and it's not that I think it's gotten old or anything. It's just like sometimes when I'm reading a story about a character, like
sometimes you just want a solo story.
I want that solo story, because depending on how it's done, in this case, like you said, it's done very well. He's integrated into the story very well. You know, sometimes it's not done as well, and it just like pulls you out, because it's like it almost puts the brakes on the actual plot of the story. Like that we were talking about when we were talking about Ultimate Spider-Man before recording. It was one thing that we were talking about is like in that run of Spider-Man, it kind of plateaus and slows down, because like there's just a lot of like X-Men cameos like showing up, and then the Ultimates and all that. It's like, dude, like
Daredevil, Moon Knight, all these characters.
That's where I'm at right now, and it is when Moon Knight shows up, and I'm like, I just want the story.
I just want to read Spider-Man.
I just want to read Spider-Man. I'm like, I don't necessarily give a shit about fucking Moon Knight, you know? Like, Jesus.
Right. But no, I agree. I think Miles is a good addition and a good surprise, because they could have easily gone for the what everyone would think, where it's like Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Everyone would think about that. I don't think Peter Parker shows up in this run until like the end.
And you know what? That's cool.
Yeah.
As much as I like Spider-Man, he doesn't need to show up.
Yeah, he doesn't need to show up in every
Venom
Venom story.
Venom is the name of the fucking run.
Yeah.
Of what's going on.
Right. So that's the end of issue 2. Pretty good issue. Get some backstory on Rex. Figure out some stuff about the symbiotes.
Yep.
Issue 3, we open up, and Eddie is kind of entangled in this like black symbiote web.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he's lost, how he feels like he's, you know, floating in the abyss, how he can't remember anything. And he's like, I remember a dragon. I remember Rex. I remember, you know, the army stuff or the military stuff using symbiotes for super soldiers. And he's like, and then I remember Spider-Man. And he's like, oh, fuck, I'm killing Spider-Man. And it shows.
and his eyes open, and you see that spiral.
Yeah, you see the spiral, and it shows Venom in his spiral form, like towering over Miles.
Absolutely dog walk that boy.
Yeah. Now, Miles, I would shit my pants, because Miles is like a teenager.
Well, and the thing is like Miles, Miles' Spider-Man, honestly, like, is way stronger at that age than Peter Parker's Spider-Man was at that time.
Yes, he is.
Because, I mean, he has the advantages of having Parker as his mentor.
Right.
He's got his fucking Venom strike shit.
He's got his invisibility. I think the only power he does not have, I could be wrong about this, I do not think Miles has spider sense. I can't remember, though, because I haven't read a lot of Miles stuff in recent years.
I want to say he does.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he does. Whether they, like, nerfed it to, like, at least keep Peter a semblance of strength compared between the two.
Right.
You know, but I'm pretty certain both of them have it.
Yeah. Okay. But Miles is pinned down, and Eddie is like, he's able to get control enough to basically be like, kill me, please, end me. And Miles is like,
challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. He's like, you asked for this, and Miles starts whooping ass.
Yeah, he Venom strikes.
Yeah, he Venom strikes the fucking suit right off of Eddie.
And then starts beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, thank God, kid. You have no idea how thankful I am for you. And he's like, we haven't met. My name is... And Miles is like, I know who you are. And he starts beating the fucking shit. He starts running.
Just absolutely beating the brakes off Eddie.
Yeah. He's essentially like, kid, if my name is Eddie Brock. I don't know who you are. To the best of my knowledge, if I did not hurt your mother, but if we did, if I hurt you... Or if I took anyone that you love, we can settle this later. You have my word.
Yeah.
Right now, we got a big ass fucking dragon to handle. We don't have time to be doing the personal shit.
Yeah.
Like we gotta save as many people as we can. and he says, you know, I think it's time for us to team up.
Yeah, take out this
dragon. And he's like, "What's the plan?" Miles is, what are we gonna do? And he's like, I don't know. Eddie does not. He's not a plan maker.
He's like, "Do you got any more of what you hit me with?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm pretty sure he's like, "Oh, what do you call it?" And he's like, "Venom, like Venom Strike." And he's like, "Nice name."
Yeah, he's like, "That's a good name." Yeah. Yeah, he says, "Yeah, good name." Miles is like, "Yeah, shut up. I can release it all at once too, but it leaves me pretty wasted." Packs a pretty big punch. And he's like, Venom is essentially like, "Yeah, how big of a punch?" Because that dragon is massive. Miles is like, what is it? And Eddie says it's an ancient symbiote. It's like us, only older, bigger, stronger, bigger, faster, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. You know, they're swinging around, they're trying to stop it. Venom, it gets the idea of like, well, these helicopters are shooting it, not really hurting it from the outside.
Yeah.
What if we hurt it from the inside? And so he essentially takes Miles and he throws him into the fucking dragon, like into the dragon's mouth.
And he's like, "Well, good luck, kid. We're all counting on you."
Yeah, we're counting on you. He don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And fucking the dragon eats Miles, and Venom is like, "You got this, kid. You can do it." And the dragon fucking explodes.
Yeah. And when the dragon explodes, fucking Venom feels it.
Yeah. This is where we get introduced to Null. We get this nice full page panel of just a really cool action figure. That's the best way I can put him.
Yeah, no, he's holding Miles by the fucking cranium, and Venom says that like he can hear like the voices in the symbiote, like they're like singing.
Yeah, it says that they're screaming, roaring, and he's like, and he says, "Oh God, they're singing," and that's when we get the full page spread of Null.
Yep.
Coming out of the dragon, and he's like, it's very nice because Null feels like he doesn't raise his voice when you read him.
I love it. I absolutely love the calm collective.
He's very calm. Yeah, see, it's almost like he's quiet when he talks.
Well, it also, you know, it's like he's one of those villains where he is so strong. He views everything else as just like
beneath him.
Yeah, you're just an ant beneath my shoe. Like,
right.
Do you get mad at an ant when it crosses your path? You don't even usually notice the ant, right. You know, like.
And he shows a very good example of that as well. When one of these helicopters that was attacking the dragon, he looks at it and it's like they're telling him, "Get on the ground, we're going to shoot you." And he uses he reaches his own hand out, but he uses the dragon to basically catch the helicopter. And he says, and Eddie says in his monologue, is like, there's no hurry in his movements. There's no fear or anger.
Yeah.
Just strength. And he says power as well. And Null says how small and fragile, and he just crushes it with one finger.
Yeah, because he's basically got it like pinched between his thumb and his index finger, and just squeezes it like it was like a fucking bug.
Yeah. Venom is starting to lose control just a little bit. He can feel it slipping. Venom, or the symbiote, starting to fully take over, and Null is so pleased to see Venom. He is so happy. He even calls Venom beautiful. And he says, like, "My child, you cannot touch me. I only pilot this vessel." So you find out that it's not even Null.
He's just super.
It's an aspect of Null.
Yeah.
That is just controlling the dragon right now.
And also, like you said, kind of adding to that, like, Thanos level from the MCU, where like he's just in the background, but yet his influence is still there. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, and he tells Eddie, like, "I am super far away right now, he's like, this world is loud, let us be alone. And so he takes the symbiote, like the dragon symbiote, and he creates like a dome around them. He's starting to he's starting to talk to Eddie about like the past of the symbiotes, and Eddie is fucking screaming at him. He's like, what do you want from me? What do you want from my symbiote? And Noel is like, your host is screaming, my child, come to me. And Venom, or the symbiote, fucking leaves Eddie.
Yeah, goes to Noel, but you can tell it's almost like Venom's not wanting to do this.
Yeah.
But it's like that instinctual fear, like you said earlier with the other symbiote hosts when Venom came across them. It's that like instinct pack mentality of like, this is the height of the hierarchy. I have to like, something in my very DNA is pulling me to listen to this guy.
Right.
And Noel basically like, he treats Venom like a fucking like child.
Yeah.
And is like, oh no, like my poor child, you've been infected by your host. You've been infected with humanity.
Yeah.
And he's like, let me burn it out of you.
Yeah, I can fix you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we get this really kind of sad moment where he's like, you know, your host shuts you out. It silences you. You are all broken inside. Shall I fix you? And Eddie says, like, please don't take it away from me. It's all I have. I can't be alone. Noel begins to, I guess, essentially burn out the humanity inside of Venom. And Eddie's like, you're hurting it. Stop.
Yeah.
And Noel fucking grabs Eddie by the throat and he says, you want to know who I am? Let me show you who I am. And he, you know, that's when we get the name drop. He's like, I am Noel, Lord of the Abyss, which is fucking sick ass title, let me tell you.
And he begins to not infect, but like you see Eddie's eyes go red, which is the same color as Noel's.
Yeah.
And he starts to show him basically his history.
Yeah.
Like Noel's history, and a sick full panel of Noel,
like an album cover.
Yeah, like that is a straight metal album cover of Noel sitting on a throne surrounded by his symbiotes, dragons,
and his fucking sword,
fucking like symbiote sword. Like it is so fucking cool, and it says billions of years ago, and that's the end of issue 3.
Yeah, really cool issue.
So fucking sick. Yeah. Also, he said, Lord of the Symbiotes as well. Yeah. Part of his title is just like, dude, like you are a symbiote, quote unquote, hero. Yeah. And he is the Lord of You're fucked, dog. Like you are so fucking done.
Yeah, you're done. So, issue 4 opens with Noel's kind of monologue. He says, in the beginning there was nothing, and then war. He says, a light of being exploded into my realm. Blinded, I fell for eons in the bright, and inside of that light, something else, gods. And it shows celestials.
Yep.
Now, of course, celestials are known for creating basically the universe as we know it. Like planets, all that kind of stuff. You need they're essentially like almost the end all be all when it comes to like cosmic shit.
Yeah.
Of course, Galactus is a celestial.
Yes. Just not necessarily a good guy.
Yeah, but it's also nebulous as to whether celestials are good or evil. They almost don't have like a morality because they're just so far beyond.
Well, I think the way Marvel likes to keep them ambiguous or nebulous like that. So, because like in this, they're viewed as the good guys compared to Noel.
Oh yeah, compared to Noel, yes.
And then other stories, they're more morally gray, and then also like they could technically be the antagonist of the story and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think they like to keep them kind of vague like that, so they can use them interchangeably for whatever they need for their story.
Yeah. So essentially, Noel's talking about how the Celestials came and they essentially saw his realm as incomplete, and it was their clay to mold.
Yeah.
And they started filling it with creations, and they called his kingdom space. And he starts saying, like, my kingdom was not empty and it was not hollow. The endlessness of my lands was not theirs to raise and reform and remake. And he's like, no, the void was alive. It was a living thing, and it has teeth.
It breathes, and it has... there are some great fucking lines in this run. Honestly, there's so many, like, I guess you could say, so many bars are dropped in this.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of them.
And he pulls out this sword. We do get a name for it. It is pretty fucking sick as well. And he says, he pulls the sword and he charges at one of the Celestials. And he says, that was the first time I tasted the blood of the light.
Yep.
He says, and for that crime I was banished, but the gods, they did not know what they had done. The fools had sent me home to my void. There my work began. And that's where he took his blade, which I believe it's called All Black, the Necro Blade.
Yes.
Which is also, I believe, the sword that...
the Necro Sword, yeah, it's
Gore. Gore, the God Butcher from Thor.
Yeah, the God Slayer.
Yeah. I believe that is the same sword. He used the sword, because the sword was basically like a living thing. He used that sword to forge the symbiotes.
Yeah. And this, I think this was one of the contentions of when Noel was revealed, that the forging of the Necro Sword is why the symbiote is weak to sound and fire. I'm pretty sure people didn't like this as necessarily the reasoning behind those weaknesses, because the reason why the symbiote is weak to sound is because it remembers instinctually in its DNA the sound of him hammering the blade out. And then why it fears fire is because of the forge and everything like that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I remember this.
I feel like that is the most logical answer.
Yeah. But people, again, they liked keeping their alien simple rather than having kind of more complex reasonings for like its weaknesses and stuff like that, rather than it's just weak to sound and fire. It's an alien. But I personally like
the explanation.
I like the explanation a lot.
Yeah, I like it as well. So of course he creates the Necro Sword using his living abyss, forges it, and he uses it to basically wage war against the Celestials' creations. And eventually, he finds out that he can bond his living abyss with lesser creatures, basically creating like a life form that feeds off of vessels, which thus creates, the symbiotes. Of course, he has his fucking dragons. He has all his, his fucking kingdom, all that kind of shit. And he says that once I was alone... I was the center of the universe, because he waged war and fucking ended planets essentially until he got back his void.
Yeah, he's trying to basically kill all life so he could have his realm back.
Yeah. But in his little pocket that he's now reclaimed, he says like he became a monolith that unified basically the darkness. And he talks about how he became the hive mind of the symbiotes. Like his power was that strong. All the symbiotes come from him, and he was the god host.
Yep.
And he said that he was able to wear and control his symbiotes across the galaxy. And he could see through their eyes. He could feel when the god bone breaks, which is essentially the Celestials. He says, with each new bright we broke, the void grew darker. My reign... the reign of light grew dim.
Yeah.
And then there was Earth. Essentially, when he finally got to Earth, he was like, these creatures are small and fragile and weak. They cry when they're afraid, and they protect their women and children. And he's like, I don't understand it. Why? And they cry to these gods or to these heroes to protect them when there's nothing. and he's like, why would anything come to protect these small, fragile creatures? And that is when that's when we get the reveal that Beowulf did not come and save them.
No. Yeah, because when he's talking about this, it goes to show that the creature in the very first issue, in that flashback or whatever, was the dragon.
Yeah.
That was like Noel's vessel.
Yeah.
Was the dragon that was killing those warriors.
Right.
And also to solidify the kind of Scandinavian thing.
Yeah.
The person who comes to save them.
He says, I know I am not Beowulf, but, perhaps Thor will suffice.
Yeah.
And Thor brings the lightning. He calls down the fucking lightning, and it's just this really cool fucking moment where just there's lightning everywhere coming from this mountaintop, and Noel says that like when he was hit, it disrupted his connection, and it gave his symbiotes like a free will, essentially.
He basically is like he essentially is like, I had not known defeat. I like all the worlds he had, attacked, he eventually consumed.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time he ever essentially quote unquote lost.
Yeah.
And it was a power he had never felt before. And it severed his connection to all the symbiotes.
Now, his symbiotes that he had lost connection to were wearing basically the people of those planets.
Yep.
And he said, at that moment, I realized that they had all been tainted by essentially humanity. The ability to feel emotions towards other people, towards other living things, caring about things.
Becoming individualistic.
Yeah. All the things that makes a person.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was his downfall, is that he did not expect for his children to develop.
Because then there was a mutiny amongst his children and him.
He says that they betrayed him and they trapped him in their Clintar. And Eddie's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. Clintar is their race.
Yeah.
Like, it's, that's just who they are. And Noel's like, you're a fucking idiot and you're an extremely trusting person, Eddie Brock. Like, your symbiote has been lying to you. Clintar is not the name of their people. It's not even the name of their homeworld. It's a word for prison.
Yeah.
And that's when you find out that the planet of the symbiotes is a massive planet-sized prison that they have been keeping Noel in this entire time for billions of years. Yeah. Or I guess not billions of years, but for at least a while.
Yeah, quite a long time. And I like the fact that, because he does say a line, he's like, and I was consumed by the abyss of my own creation and drowned in their darkness. And it's just so, I don't know, like he's just cool. Like, he's just a cool villain.
Yeah, he is pretty sick. I agree.
I don't know. I like him a lot more than I expected to.
Yeah.
Because
he's cool.
I'd seen all the discourse about him, especially with the most recent Venom movie that came out. I saw a lot of discourse about him even being mentioned in it and everything like that. And I was like, man, maybe why there's so much discourse around him is because he's not that great of a written character. Mm-hmm. And after reading this, I'm like, he's extremely well written.
Yeah.
Like, even the history of the symbiotes that they're giving, the exposition.
They retcon so much stuff in here, and I feel like it's done very well because of Noel.
I mean, we've both seen awful retcons done 100%. Before. So, like, as far as retcons go, this is extremely well done.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Part of me is a bit confused. I say a bit confused. I understand why there is pushback because people don't like change with some of the stuff, that they like and everything. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, I agree.
It really could have.
Yeah.
But I digress.
So Noel, he essentially tells Eddie, like, that's where I am right now. But now that my connection has been, reestablished with this, and he says like, well, what did you call it? The Grendel, like it'll come and get me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I will continue my war across the universe and reclaim my kingdom, and I'll start with Earth. Terrible place to start, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you would even think about starting on Earth.
Let's see, how many beings, galactic, like cosmic, like how many beings have gone to Earth to try and conquer Earth and it's never worked out?
Galactus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the Celestials itself,
Yeah. Let's see, who else? Thanos.
Yeah.
Mephisto.
Fuck that.
Like, we've got all these different characters who are arguably on the same level, if not maybe a little bit stronger than Noel, who are like, who have come to Earth and just went, no, I'm not dealing with it anymore.
I mean, like, even the Asgardian, like, villains.
Oh yeah, like they've already had the whole Ragnarok storyline happen, so
like, they haven't been able to take out Earth. Like,
yeah.
But Noel's just like, I'm built different.
Yeah,
dog.
I mean, he is kind of built different.
He is, because I mean, he technically is the same, like, fucking not age, but like he's just as old as the Celestial. Like, he's technically older than the galaxy itself.
Yeah.
So he is a bit different.
He is
but
different.
Still,
yeah.
This is comics we're talking about.
Yeah. So he tells Eddie, like, I'm going to start my crusade again, and I'm going to start with Earth. And during that time, Miles has been able to regain consciousness, and he gets just enough strength to punch the shit out of Noel. Got some real balls on him right there.
I think he
Venom blasts him.
He Venom blasts him a little bit too.
Yeah. And he gathers Eddie and the symbiote, and he's like, all right, Eddie, we got to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not staying. If you want to die, cool. I'm out. And he begins to open up basically the bubble that they were put in, that Noel put them in. And Miles goes, oh my fucking God, this is awful. And it's revealed that they weren't put into a bubble. The dragon reformed, the Grendel reformed around them and is now flying up in space.
Yeah, they're like in the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Like, they're like 5 minutes from just being in space.
Yeah. And that's where issue 4 ends. Issue 5, but real quick, let me just say the covers for this really good. I love the cover for issue 5. It is awesome. Very foreshadowing. Very, very good.
I mean, I've already brought up the Insomniac game, and that was my first time I had ever seen Venom with fucking wings.
That's where this is where that comes from.
I realize that now. My opinion has not changed even after reading this. Venom with wings is fucking stupid. It is the one character choice for Venom that I do not like. Because to me, Venom has always had that aspect of Spider-Man with swinging around.
Yeah.
If he can have goddamn wings,
what's the point?
Why would he ever web sling a fucking gun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then you might not like some of the things in this run when it comes to that.
Don't tell me that, because I'm looking forward to reading more of this.
No, I'm still looking forward to reading it as well. But the wings don't go away. That's what I'm saying.
I'm sure they don't. And it's just one of those character choices where it's like, in the moment, for a brief second, it's like, oh, that's dope as fuck. Mm-hmm. But then you get into the long-term consequences of that.
Yeah.
Because now it's like, if he does web sling again, people are going to be like, why the fuck is he web slinging? He has wings. Yeah. And then also, since he has wings, if he uses the wings, it's like, that's not necessarily Venom anymore. And I understand, they're trying to incorporate some more, original aspects of Venom. Mm-hmm. But, you still kind of got to respect that core, right?
Yeah.
Of, him being a web slinger. I don't know. I don't like the wings, personally.
Right.
But
I am indifferent to them. I do kind of see where you're coming from, where it's like, once you evolve the character to that point, it's almost like an anime where it's like
the power creep.
Once Goku unlocks Super Saiyan whatever,
a billion,
what's the point of him ever going base form ever again?
Yeah, exactly. Like when he basically ascends to being a god, why would he not
be that?
Yeah, be that to the jump
and beat the shit out of his villains. Yeah,
and then this is kind of a tangent about Dragon Ball. Anytime you bring that up, Dragon Ball fans will just be like, well, he's got to work himself up there. I'm like, oh, so he's got to get his ass beat until he can be like, I'm a god now?
Absolutely not.
Like, come on.
No, if it were me, I'd start at 100% all the time and work my way down.
Jesus. Anyway.
But yeah, tangent over. So issue 5 opens with Miles punching the shit out of Eddie, trying to wake him up. Yeah. He wakes up and they are falling to New York City.
Yep.
They have taken an express trip down, and Eddie's like, what the fuck is going on? And Miles is like, well, it was either this or we are in space.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't want to be in space. So now here we are. And Eddie is like, freaking out. He's like, oh, this is it. I'm dead.
And Venom's trying to get Eddie's attention.
Hey, Eddie, listen. Eddie.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Eddie, listen to me.
Yeah, Eddie. And he's like, grab the spider and hold on and just trust me.
Yeah.
And you see his back spider design begin to morph and change, and eventually it becomes a full set of wings.
Yes. While it looks very cool, I'm not gonna sit here and 100% hate, because it does look dope as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, the art for it is fantastic. It looks cool. I just don't like the concept.
Yeah. So they drop Miles off, and Eddie essentially is like, "Thanks for the help. Keep your head down. We'll take care of the rest of this." Basically, telling Miles like, "We don't want you in any more danger. Get out of here."
And Miles is gonna chase after him.
Yeah.
And he tries to web onto the back of Venom, but his fucking web shooter's out.
Yeah. So Eddie and Venom land in an alleyway, and Eddie's like, that was wild. So how long have you been able to do that? And Venom's essentially like, never. This is the first time I've been able to do that. And Venom essentially explains that while Null was trying to cleanse him of the humanity, it reestablished briefly his connection to the hive mind, which essentially gave him like a power boost.
Yeah, like he essentially gained knowledge. Since it's a hive mind, he gained knowledge from the other symbiotes and into more things he can do.
Yeah.
And Miles had interrupted the cleansing, I guess you could say, of Venom.
So he gets to keep his humanity, but he got a slight power boost through it.
Yeah.
Essentially says like, there's something else that I learned that you should know. And they go back to the warehouse, they crash through, and they begin to talk to Rex about everything that's been going on, about, the spiral, shit going on, the soldiers, the Grendel, Null, all of that. And Brock is eventually like, you're going to tell me who you really are. And he fucking creates like a spike out of his arm, and he shoves it right through Rex's head. And that's when it's revealed that Rex is a symbiote.
Yeah, because Venom's like, the alley, the warehouse, the rooftop, my other was reacting to something else, protecting me. We should have seen it. It was never us. Because those times that he started to like transform into the other version, to the spiral version of Venom, was actually Venom like instinctually freaking out around Rex.
Yeah.
And so he's like, we should have seen it, put it together. He stabs Rex on the head. He's a fucking like symbiote prime, essentially. Yeah. Like he's like an original symbiote.
Yeah. And he does say like Rex, like the human Rex died a long time ago. He died during that war. But obviously Rex, his compassion and his humanity affected him. And now he,
Mm-hmm.
the way that he is now.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Just looking at this, you know what Rex kind of reminds me of?
Hmm.
He kind of looks like a Tau.
A little bit, yeah, from Warhammer. Yeah, he does. Especially the way that his like nose area is.
He
Yeah,
kind of looks like a fucking Tau, and so now I don't like him.
that's funny. But yeah,
if you know, you know.
Yeah. But he essentially says, like, Noel built us to hunt, but this light that I feel, like that I felt when I had Rex, it's beautiful. And Venom's actually the one who finishes the sentence. Like he said, like Venom says the light is beautiful.
Yeah.
Eddie reveals that Noel is here and that he's made contact with him, or at least somewhat here, and he's made contact with them. Rex is freaking out. And Venom, calms him down just a little bit, says like he attempted to absorb us, but it didn't work. Venom and Rex are talking to each other inside of Eddie's mind. And essentially they come to the conclusion like they can beat Noel. Like he can be hurt. And they fuse together, creating this fucking super Venom. I don't know what
he looks dope as shit.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Because Venom's like, because Rex is like, you're not strong enough to defeat Noel.
Yeah.
And I'm not strong enough to defeat Noel. And Venom's basically like, no, like.
But that's not what our people were built for.
Yeah, we are meant to work together.
Yeah, and he's like, we are better when we are not alone. We are powerful. We are strong. We are at war.
Yeah.
And, it shows us just...
Super Venom.
Yeah. Super, really cool Super Venom.
I really like that design.
Yeah, I do too. I do think it is somewhat ruined in issue 6 because at the end of issue 5, they go down into Rex's, like, basically weapon locker. Because Rex explains, like, oh, well, I pretended to be Rex this entire time, and so I got a bunch of, like, shield stuff.
Yeah.
And they go down at the beginning of issue 6. They go down into his weapon locker and start absorbing all of these different weapons that he has been stockpiling. And he looks absolutely wacky. Like I liked the design up until this point.
I like this concept, but I think what they should have done was make it a bit sleeker.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being like, oh, there's a hodgepodge of weapons on him.
Yeah.
Like, they could have made it to where, like, it's absorbed in the symbiote body and he can, like, call it out, or there's, like, a symbiote version of that weapon or something like that. But I agree it kind of ruins the design, but at the same time, like...
I still think that first depiction of it looks really cool.
I think it's still cool. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Spawn, a little bit,
yeah.
Which is cool, but yeah, no, I agree with you mostly. Like they kind of do ruin that suit design by doing that.
Yeah,
they could have definitely, I feel like, made it like sleeker, or, a bit more eye catching.
Yeah.
I think.
Now it doesn't matter because the design doesn't stick around for long.
No, it doesn't.
Because they immediately they re-establish their connection to Noel and the Grendel.
Yeah.
And they are waiting for him at the warehouse. Essentially, like, if we're going to fight on our own turf, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it's just instantly all out hell.
Yeah.
Just Grendel comes crashing through and they begin to just throw hands. Venom is shooting guns, like laser beams into the Grendel's mouth.
Throwing grenades.
Yeah, he pries open the Grendel's mouth and throws 2 grenades in. And, it seems to be working. And then Noel fucking pops out and is like,
He's just like, oh, little host, you have something I need.
Yeah.
And Venom's like, good, come and get it.
Yeah, he's like, good, come and get it. And he uses this, like, Predator shoulder cannon to blast a fucking hole in him. And Noel begins to strip the symbiote off of Eddie.
Yep.
And he fully pulls him off and pushes Eddie to the side. And that's when it's revealed that there are these bombs all throughout the symbiote. And Eddie Eddie's like, you want it, it's yours, but there's something you should know. It's a coffin.
Yeah, he's like, it's not a symbiote, it's a coffin.
Yeah.
Just this green, like, lightning explosion. Like, it's not a normal bomb by any fucking means.
Yeah.
And it, like, fries the shit out of Null.
And kind of Rex as well.
Yeah, Rex protects, because it was almost kind of like a suicide thing. But Rex protects the original Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
And so Venom comes out unscathed.
Yeah, and he goes back onto Eddie, and it is pretty cool because they basically think like they've won.
Yeah.
And he says, and Null even says, "You think you've undone me? You have no idea what I am. I am your god." And he starts to fucking like tower over Eddie. And then Rex, binds him, wraps him up in, basically his own tendrils. And is like, "Eddie, you need to open up that furnace now." And both Rex and the Grendel just get tossed right into this massive fireplace. And he's like, "You're going to have to hold that door, Eddie."
Yeah, he does a Hodor.
Yeah, he holds the door.
Holds the fucking door. And at first, Venom's protecting him.
Yeah.
But as the flames get bigger and hotter and Null and Rex are like fighting in there, the fire's getting bigger and Venom's like having to start to like peel back from Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, I can't protect you. If you keep going, like, you're gonna fucking die. And it gets to a point where like Venom's basically like almost 100% removed himself from Eddie.
And Eddie essentially says, like, "I have to hold on just long enough, even if it kills me." Like, basically, like, the world cannot beat Null.
Yeah, essentially.
So if I can kill this dragon, his connection will be severed and he can't come here. And fucking Eddie, he's able to hold it just long enough, and we get a nice monologue. I will also say Venom decides to go inside of Eddie. I don't necessarily know what that does, but he goes inside of Eddie.
Yeah.
And we get this narration from Venom saying, like, "We did it, Eddie. Null's connection to the symbiote is failing. He's gone. I can feel it. They both are." And he says, "I'm sorry, Eddie. It was too much. We were still connected. I should have told you I love you." And you see Eddie say, like, I can't hear you. Where did you go?"
Yeah.
And you see this Eddie kind of burnt chicken tender on the ground, like surrounded by a pool of black. And it just, that's the end of the arc.
I honestly, like, I was a bit jarred when Venom's like, "I love you, Eddie."
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem very Venom to me, but again, like, this is my first Venom comic, really, so
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's a bit jarring, but I really do like kind of that ending, because again, like, I've read to 8, and after 6, issue 7, a little bit of jumping ahead, you don't really see what happens to Eddie yet. After that moment, and there's that suspense and everything like that. So it's I like where that arc ends. It definitely has that feeling of like, okay, you've not beaten, but at least extended your time before Null shows up.
Yeah.
It definitely has that cliffhanger grab onto you of like, okay, what the fuck is going on now with Venom? And everything like that. It's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I obviously, because I read 2 more issues after the fact and was like, oh, I should probably figure out what issues we're covering, because I was taking notes and everything.
Yeah.
And
well, now you're just a little bit more prepared for when we cover the next arc.
But yeah, so overall, I really fucking liked it. I loved the art.
Again, I cannot express enough that Ryan Stegman just knocks it out of the ballpark with his artwork. It is good from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Donny Cates does a really good job writing this.
I'm not surprised, considering how much we both loved fucking God Country.
I think you are going to be so happy with the later arcs in this run, because something that Donny Cates really loves writing about is fathers and sons. And I think you're going to really, really like the future arcs in this series.
Okay.
Especially once we get closer towards like Absolute Carnage. You're gonna love it.
Okay. All right. I'm probably definitely going to end up reading this in my own time.
Yeah.
And then whenever we cover more of it, coming back and rereading it. But I really like this. It's definitely one of the first comics we've done where I've taken the initiative to like keep going with it.
Yeah.
But it was that good that I was like, I'm invested. I'm gonna read more like immediately. Yeah. So very good. I liked it a lot.
I agree. I'm very, very invested in this story. And again, that's saying a lot because I'm not a Venom fan.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's in my top 3 favorite Spider-Man villains when it comes to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I just hasn't been my thing. And, I think Donny Cates, that just proves how good of a writer Donny Cates is.
Yeah.
That he can get me to like a character that I have no interest in to begin with. And I just, he changed my viewpoint of the character, because I've always felt like Venom is similar to Harley Quinn, where they were initially a really cool villain, like a one-note villain. And because of their design, they got so popular, and to the point where the corporation, the publishers were like, oh, people really like this person. Okay, well, we can't have them be a supervillain because then we can't use them all the time.
So we're gonna make them an anti-hero.
We're gonna make him an anti-hero or just a straight up superhero. Yeah. And
no, I can understand that, because my favorite version of Venom is typically when he is a villain.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, when he's more monstrous and everything like that. So I can totally understand your sentiment there. I totally understand, because I see it too. Like, I'm not aware of it. You know what I mean? But like, I think Venom's a little less egregious as like Harley Quinn.
A little bit less, yeah. Because at least with Venom, like at least Eddie Brock as a character, we know that Eddie is like, he doesn't kill people. Yeah. Like Spider-Man, that's a different story. But
yeah, he wants to kill Spider-Man.
Yeah, at least in the earlier days. Yeah. But like a character like Harley Quinn, who has actively murdered children of her own free will,
swaths of people.
Yeah, like that's 2 completely different characters.
That's different.
But yeah, Venom is less egregious. I completely agree with that.
But yeah,
I think that's basically it. I think both Mason and I heavily recommend this book.
Oh yeah, very much.
Definitely pick it up. Again, it's in my opinion the most famous like modern Venom storyline going on, or that has happened in recent years. So you can easily find it anywhere. I mean, Donny Cates is like a golden child in the comic book industry. Like, you will always be able to find a book that has his name on it in print. Good. He is great. He is a great writer. So I definitely recommend it. Pick up the trade, pick up the omnibus, however you want to do it. I think you will get your money's worth. You'll get to read further along and enjoy all the other arcs, like Absolute Carnage, Venom Beyond, King in Black, all of those. And we will definitely be covering the rest of the arcs. We are going to do it in probably the 6-issue chunks, just because that's kind of the best way to consume that run, in my opinion. And plus, it gives us more videos to put out, which will be nice. It'll be a nice little journey for us. Yeah. So, but one last thing before we head out. If you have enjoyed our content and are feeling gracious and feel like we have earned it, please give us a like and subscribe. Go follow us on, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and follow us on there as well. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the episode, and we appreciate everybody who has been listening this far. So my name has been Ethan, your host, joined by my best bud and co-host, Mason, and we are signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye.